19th big debate here in Shanghai, the 19th big debate. My name is Liam McManus, I'm the organiser and your moderator for this evening. And hold on, it's coming. We're debating the motion, sexual monogamy makes the best relationships.
Controversial.
So you can be for the motion, against the motion, undecided. Before we start, let's quickly get to know the room. So, hands up if you are in this room for the first time for a big debate. You're a big debate virgin. You're about to start your monogamous relationship with big debates and no other debating companies ever. Okay, that's quite a lot. Hands up if you've been to a big debate before. Alright, big debate players. Cool. Okay, so we will go into, I'll quickly give you a rundown of the format. So the format is, we'll have a first vote, and you all get in the WeChat group and that's how you vote, and then we will do the front liner. And then we will do the frontliner opening statements. The against team and for team, who will be here very soon, we'll give our opening uninterrupted statements, and then I will moderate, we'll have an open debate, you guys will get involved, then we'll do closing statements, and then a final vote. Okay, before we start, I want to say thank you to a new partnership we've got with Big Debates. Ian, can you help me? So we have a photographer here today, a professional photographer for the first time. Where are you, Michael? Put your hand up. There is at the back. He is professional and expensive, and we've got some professional visual artists here today. They are professional and expensive, and so we have a sponsor today for the first time. Helping us out, and it's Chris. And Chris is, hold on Chris. Chris is, he's a fan. He's been to our debates many times before, and he's supporting us today, upgrading the debates. Now, I'm sorry if you don't have a seat, but maybe in the future, we're going to collaborate with Chris and get more seats and potentially a bigger space for a bigger space, for a bigger space for the bigger debates. So, let's give Chris a welcome, and I want to ask Chris to say a few words about what you do. Chris!
Good evening, and it is a genuine pleasure to be here tonight. I already know quite a few of you in the room already. For those who I haven't met quite yet, it'll be a pleasure to get to come out and meet you in the future. As Liam mentioned, I'm a huge advocate of what we're doing here. I think the idea of debating in a society is just so crucial, and I actually think often underestimated the skills you learn. And I'm passionate about bringing this to the community, and I think it's only a good thing. And I'm very obviously not the only person that thinks it. Since I came here, this group has grown considerably. Often it will just be us around a table, now we can barely fit in. And with growth comes challenges. And so what I really want to do this year is help the group grow in every possible way so we can keep this momentum going. If we're looking for a new venue, myself and the company will hope to help out. If we're looking for food and beverage, again, it's something that I would be more than happy to help out with. So I incur the costs, so you don't have to, essentially. And like I said, this is something I'm especially passionate about. So myself and my company, St. James's Place, will be providing money and contacts to take the group forward. Obviously, this is at entirely my cost, and one I'm happy to provide because I came here as a fan first. I'm not sure if you know who St. James's Place are or not, but if you don't, we're essentially a wealth management firm. Bear with me. We're a wealth management firm, and we work out here in Shanghai. And we help guide expats in a range of different areas, being that the tax advantages that come into being offshore, trust planning, and those looking to save a little bit for the future, be that for buying a house, be that for retirement planning, or just looking to stash a little bit away. Obviously, that's all I'm going to say tonight. Relax, enjoy the debate, that's all we want to do. All I ask is that if I've said anything that you think could be relevant for you, either for now or in the future, and if you're open to the conversation, it'll be a pleasure to be able to come out in the future, buy you a coffee, and tell you a little bit more about what we do, either for right now or just as a point of reference for your future. That's all from me. Enjoy the debate, and also a massive thank you to Liam for organising this. Since I've actually started working with Liam more closely, I've come to realise the enthusiasm and the sheer heart he puts into these evenings, and it's impressive. So, thank you, and long may they continue. Woo!
Okay, let's get stuck in. So first, we're going to do the first vote. So, get yourself into this group. And in this group, the legend that is Ian will post a barcode, and you scan the barcode, and it's a mini app where you can vote for, against, or undecided. So the motion is sexual monogamy makes the best relationships. You scan the mini app in the group, and it'll just have options for, against, undecided. Press your option, press the blue button, and your voice has been counted. Have you got it? Is there a... Ian, is the voting barcode in the group? If you're new in the group, we'll resend it for you. We'll resend it. And if you're in the group, keep resending it for all the new people that keep coming in. Help us out.
People just put their votes in.
Have you voted, sir? Keith's voted.
No, there's no mini app.
You've got it. There's the baby. The little blue barcode. You scan it. You get in. For, against, undecided. Click the blue button. Press the cross, and you have a voice. You've just exercised your power of voting. So there's a blue barcode. You scan it. Scan the barcode. You have to press the barcode. You have to hold down. A long press. We're working it. We're getting there.
It says extract. Alright. Oh.
Hands up if you've already voted. Successful voters. Let's see your hands in the air. Successful. Alright, some people are still working out. Help the person next to you if they haven't been successful. Good. We usually have a slightly better app than this, but this time we've had to go with plan B. Because our local hosts bans apps sometimes.
They banned the other app?
It is temporarily banned.
Voting. We don't like it.
Okay, is everyone successful? Okay, that booth will be open until 2015, until 8:15. So, okay. Before we start, we're going to do something different, something special. And this special thing is, you're a front debater, sit yourself here, sir. Come on in. Glad you turned up. We're going to do something special, which is a high-energy warm-up for a few minutes to get us all in debate state. So please give a round of applause to my younger, not older, my younger brother, Brendan Hauge-Lee. Welcome.
Thank you. I think it's by my phone. So I'm also a professional and very expensive. He didn't mention me before, but he is my older brother, so I'm doing this for free. So, round of applause for me, please. Thank you. Okay, so what we're going to do is, we're going to all stand up. And we're going to be a bit careful because there's seats. All stand up very carefully. Up. Eights, all eights. All stand up. So when we debate, we want to have high energy. We want to have high energy, otherwise we're boring, we're bored, and we're not learning. Okay. Okay, so everybody, hands like this. Hands like this. Okay, and now turn to your left. The person to your left, put those hands on their shoulders. And after three, begin to massage. 1, 2, 3, go! And now swap people, and again. If you're enjoying it, tell them you're enjoying it. Tell them. Are you enjoying it? I'm enjoying it. Good. Okay, and now give both of those people a high five and a hug and say thanks. Okay, no, back up, up we get. So, need this. So last one, I want you all to take your finger and put it in the air like this.
Age. Boy.
Thank you very much. Okay, and now you're going to point this finger at someone next to you, and you're going to say this. I'm a better debater than you. 3, 2, 1, go! I'm a better debater. Good. Okay, and now say, no, I'm a better debater than you. And now, more aggression. No, I'm the best debater. Okay, and now, just say, oh. All right. We're both great debaters, and give them a nice big hug. A nice big hug. Nice big hug, there we go. And now, music. And now just find 3 people around you and give a hug. 3 people. A hug with 3 people around you. A hug with 3 people. That's it, keep hugging. That's it. Okay, and so now you're all warmed up, and you're in a loving mood, ready to debate. So, that's it. Thank you. Thank you, Brendan.
All right, now we're all warmed up. You all need to go back down again and be silent, because we have our frontliners. We have our frontliners, 4 minutes each, uninterrupted opening statements.
What are you talking about?
And you guys too. You guys are silent too. So we have for the motion, sexual monogamy makes the best relationships. Against the motion, sexual monogamy makes the best relationships. We'll do for, against, and then we'll all get involved. But for now, it's silent. Please, I forgot my introduction, see if I can remember. The first for debater is, who's going first, chaps? Is Nels. Nels owns a shop called Porn Star. It's like 2 minutes down the road. It's, he owns a shop called Porn Star.
Second-hand fashion.
It's second-hand fashion, but it looks like first-hand fashion.
Yeah, it's very nice.
And he is arguing for the motion. Round of applause for Nels. And before he has the uninterrupted, before it's uninterrupted, I will give you a 30-second warning. I'll bash the bell, which is just this little bell here. Just like that, and that tells you you've got 30 seconds. Quickly shut up. Another round of applause for Nels.
Wow, okay, so this is a bigger group than I was expecting. This is kind of, I find it a little bit embarrassing because the way it's phrased, relationships, makes it a little bit too easy for our side. But I'm sure they'll come up with something, they'll come up with something good that'll make it difficult. Because I mean, is monogamy more fun? Then no, promiscuity is more fun. Monogamy is monotony, you know, we know that. So there's many good arguments against monogamy. There's many, but the fact is, it's what's worked in this world up till now, which of course, you know, then it's the patriarchy and all of that. But monogamy is monotony, but the debate is about relationships. It says monogamy is better for relationships. Now, I mean, if the idea for relationships is how many relationships do you have? Can we read this again? Does it say it somewhere here? Makes the best relationships. Okay, so if we're going to define relationships, if it's the most relationships, I should imagine promiscuity is better. If it's the most fun relationships, if you're maximizing the number of fun relationships you have, then sure, promiscuity. I'll take it any day. But they're talking the best relationships. And what are those relationships? Those relationships are family. Well, let's start. It's your spouse or partner, your relationship with your partner, whoever it may be, whether it's serial monogamy or something that's supposed to be for life. It's your family, parents, it's your friends. So we're going to have to prove that in those key relationships in your life, friends, family, and your spouse / partner, promiscuity is better. That's what the other side has to prove, and I feel bad for them. I'm sure they'll be very entertaining, and I mean, they're going to be impassioned, and you know, smart guys, good-looking guys, you know, guys that are probably could do well at either monogamy or promiscuity. But the fact is that how could promiscuity be better for relationships? This is kind of easy. I mean, the only way I could possibly imagine it being better for relationships is if we argue that it is better for your relationship with your bros. Or maybe your parents. Maybe you don't devote time to your significant other. You have countless significant others. I'd also like to point out we're talking about promiscuity here, not polyamory, not polygamy, not polyandry. This isn't many wives with one husband, many husbands with one wife. This isn't concurrently having numerous lovers. This is promiscuity. And promiscuity is this is a guy you all know well. We're in Shanghai. This is that expat guy who's on WeChat look around at 2 a.m. This is the guy in the bar. That's promiscuity. I mean, like my best friend, the only friend I could get to come tonight was Jeffrey, and I actually paid his entry ticket. I only have one friend here, and I paid for him to get in because my other friends are off doing promiscuity. I mean, seriously. I mean, I was like, hey, come support me at this debate. And I'm like, no, I'm meeting a new girl. Like, all right. And the point is, the face of promiscuity is a very familiar one to you. You all know it extremely well and tend to probably, I'm not going to make assumptions about what men or women think about this, but I don't know. I mean, is it good for relationships? Certainly not. I mean, with my friends who refuse to come out here. Okay, so my final point is, let's not talk about a fantasy here. Let's not talk about some sort of ideal world where promiscuity works perfectly, where there's no history of the patriarchy. There's no history, like some ideal world. That's not how it is. You know promiscuity. You know what it is. How could it be better for relationships?
Thank you, Nels. Okay, and first up, arguing against the motion, sexual monogamy makes the best relationships, we have Mark. Mark is a man, he is American, he is a social studies teacher, expert, and he just loves debate. Mark. Start talking, Mark.
Hi, my name's Mark.
Testing, 1, 2. Can you all hear? This working?
It's working.
You're going to pick one that works.
All right. Oh, okay. There we are.
Starting something?
Hi. Nice to meet you. My name is Mark. I'd like to start off just by presenting what I value in relationships. I don't support promiscuity. That's not what I'm arguing for. I don't value that in my relationships. What I support is ethical relationships, monogamous or otherwise. I don't support cheating. I don't support dishonesty. I don't support manipulation. Honest, mutually consensual, transparent relationships are what are good. It's good for people, good for society, and what makes me happy. All right, so my opponent mentioned that monogamy, it seems like an easy win. Yes, I recognize where I am and I understand the tradition that I'm speaking against. I actually do concede that monogamy does make the best relationships for most people. So if that's the end of my debate, you vote against me, okay. But it's not for everyone. And for people who are not, by their nature, monogamous, forcing them into a monogamous relationship is not in their best interest. It doesn't give them happiness, and it doesn't guarantee that they have the best relationship that they can have. Some stats on the next slide. Monogamy is not the norm, but it's becoming increasingly more common. Unfortunately, I would love to have loads of data to throw at you, but research is thin. Legality in a lot of areas, preventing plural marriage, means that we can't actually research these under the conditions that we'd like. You can continue. One reason that a lot of people reject outright this kind of non-monogamy is the idea of jealousy. It's a human emotion, we all feel it. But it wouldn't be right to assume that your level and standards of jealousy apply to everybody. There are people who feel very jealous very quickly and very intensely, and there are people who barely feel the feeling at all. I'll use my relationship as an example. I say I've hit the romantic lottery. I've had like at first sight and love for 10 years. That relationship goes beyond our bodies. The idea that to be with someone else physically doesn't threaten the romance and relationship that we have. I'm totally comfortable with any relationships outside that my partner would take place or would like to engage in, and it's about having a discussion. It's not about saying, I own you, at least not in my relationship. Moving on, I'd like to present some alternatives to monogamy that you may not have considered. Next slide, please, or next click. Imagine this family in what I'll call a traditional division of labor. Primary income earner and primary child caregiver. Now I'd like you to consider an alternative. Next. People adding a third person to the relationship, assuming that these people are comfortable and this is consensual and they love each other. Adding a secondary income earner to a two-person relationship, if they have a healthy relationship, makes this family unit stronger than it was before. If a person gets sick, if a person can't provide, loses their job, you have a second backup in this case. Purely from a functional level, this triad, it's what a three-person relationship is called, is a better relationship than they had before, if they're disposed to it. Okay, next please. I guess the PowerPoint's not my friend today. Go ahead. Now imagine this family, and this is based off of some friends of mine. Two pairs, man and woman, and the women in the relationship are romantically involved. You can give me a click. The women are romantically involved. The men are not romantically involved with each other, but they are friends. They live together, and they make up a very happy and stable situation. I would say that all of these advantages, whether it's child rearing, savings, investment, and so on, this unit, this family, this community has an advantage. If a person is sick, if a person is out of commission, they have a support structure that's there and ready. Adding the romantic bond only strengthens that. I recognize that I know where I am. I'm not going to say it, but because debate rules. I know where I am, and I know the traditions that have been built up here, and also where I'm from in the United States. And I recognize that anytime something challenges a very deeply held tradition, there's an instinct response, there's an emotional response to say, no. All I ask is that you hear us out. If we change your mind, cool, but I'd like you to at least think something very deeply through before you condemn somebody else's happy relationship.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Next up, arguing for the motion, sexual monogamy makes the best relationships, we have Daniel. Daniel is Ukrainian, and he works with children. He is Ukrainian. He is a man. He's good looking. Welcome, Daniel.
Alright, let's try to start. So, basically, monogamy, yeah, I agree with you. Monogamy is not for everyone. So, what's the point? The point is, yeah, I'm Daniel. So nice to meet you. The point is, if you can't imagine that you will have sex with only one woman until the end of your life, until you die, so it's perfectly good for you. I mean, that's great. So many benefits. Society is for you. The whole system works for you. You have so many benefits. I mean, your parents told you this. All your friends are telling you this. So many benefits. Family is really convenient. You don't have to invest your time, invest your money, or anything else outside your family, right? So the key point here in monogamy or polygamy is a child. It all starts with the genetics. So we all have genes. We're all like programmed with genes. Women are programmed that they have this egg, yeah. So they need to invest biologically in a child. So for 9 months, and then for a certain period, they are vulnerable. And men are programmed that they have millions chances to, to have many childs. So they are programmed to have as many childs as they can, right? So there's kind of, controversy here, right? So this all comes, like, all these controversials, women against. So women are biologically formed as kind of monogamous, right? So they have all this, the whole body is made to born a child, right? But if you don't want to have a child, right, let's imagine this, like there are pretty much a lot of children in our planet, and our population still grows. Anyway, so you don't have to have a child, right? In genetic level, your program pushed to have a child, right? As many children as you want, but on the individual level, like you are thinking, oh, how can I be happy, right, in this environment with all these children and all this situation going around? Not all the families are, being able to, raise a child in this environment and, having all this like basic needs. All right, so all right, next one. The one biggest problem in monogamous relationships, in either it's a marriage or it's just, a boyfriend-girlfriend relations, is to be taken for granted. So when your person is stopping to provide their best, in your relationship, you know, either it's a man or woman. It all goes kind of down. Other way, also there is the fact that if a man has constant amount of satisfying sex, his sexual desire goes down. And if a woman has constant satisfying sex, her desire craves up. Usually, rare. So, biologically, like if the sex thing is not important for you, then maybe you should like look at monogamy as your best option.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. And finally, frontline debating against the motion. Sexual monogamy makes the best relationships. Shh. It's the final one, uninterrupted, then you will get involved. We have Michael. Michael is from Holland. He's tall. He's also a man. He imports beer into China. And there's something else interesting that I've forgotten. Michael!
Hello everybody, nice to meet you all, and it's great to stand in front of everybody, see some familiar faces, some unfamiliar faces. So let's kick it off. I want to first say that I think being not sexually monogamous is perfectly fine up until the point that you actually get children. When you enter a relationship, whether it's a relationship or you decide to actually get married, some people don't want to get married, but you decide to get children, the responsibility of both parents inevitably is, and the goal is, to make those children become independent later on in life. That should be the goal of every parent, that when they're old enough that they can take care of themselves and don't no longer need the help of their parents. So how can you best achieve that as a parent? I think if you have a decent amount of experience with multiple partners before you decide to either get married or get in a relationship that you want to get children, that gives you the room and opportunity to find and explore different personalities, different people, and not just explore other people, but explore yourself. Find out where your preference lies. Find out which personality best suits me, best complements my personality, and best would be suitable for a marriage or partner that I want to get children with. Because eventually, when does a child become independent? That will be probably by average around the age in the 20s, let's say 22. That'll be about an age that they either graduate from college, they can start an own income, they start being able to take care of each other. So you need to have a partner that you can stay together with and provide a stable environment for that child until they become independent. Now, how do you know if you marry right off the bat with somebody that you're gonna spend at least those 22 years with each other, if you haven't at least been looking around? You just mentioned it, guys like to hop around and have sex with women. Do that before you get children. Don't do that while you have children, because the people that are going to suffer from it inevitably are going to be your children. It's the same for after marriage or when children becomes 22 years old. Okay, you say, oh, I'm really tired of my partner. Fine, but do that after the child becomes independent, not before, because that would just be selfish and irresponsible. So again, the whole point is being explore with different people, find the personality best complements you, because that is going to offer you the most guarantee that you're actually going to stay together for those 22 years and going to fulfill your obligation of making your child independent and being able to take care of themselves. And that's basically the point I wanted to make. Thank you.
Woo! Thank you, Michael. Okay, so now we quickly, very quickly, you don't have to say anything here, guys, because we are running a bit short of time. It's a rebuttal time. I'll quickly do this. A little bit of definition fun. So, the four frontliners agreed on these definitions. They're from Wikipedia and Google. So the gods have spoken. And the sexual monogamy definition on Wikipedia is sexual monogamy refers to two partners remaining sexually exclusive with each other and having no outside sex partners. You can disagree with this, but the frontliners have agreed with this. Polygamy, the two below are alternatives. There are many alternatives. These are the two alternatives that we might talk about tonight, we might not. Polygamy is defined on Google as the practice or custom of having more than one wife or husband at the same time. Polyamory is the philosophy or state of being in love or romantically involved with more than one person at the same time. There's a few definitions that they've all agreed on. Okay, quick chance for you guys. I don't want to. You can say no. Did anyone feel personally attacked? And you want to say no, that's completely wrong. Or otherwise, we can just move on to the subtopics. No personal attacks. You were attacked. Okay.
I have one question. No, I mean basically you have said that it's okay to be polyamory, right? To have many sexual partners, but before you have kids, right?
Yes.
So after you have kids, you become monogamous, right? So the best relationship with the kids is monogamy, right?
So, okay. I don't support that.
If you have a child, I understand. Yeah, I But the basic point that you said, like, if you have a child already, so the best form of this relationship is monogamy, right?
It depends on the person, like he said, and I would like to have the microphone. I think for the vast majority of people out there, that would most likely be monogamy, just like my partner said. But there's a significant, also smaller group of people out there for which that type of relationship doesn't work. And to force them in a relationship will just cause harm to the children. But then again, you should also realize the definition up there. I mean, marriage has nothing to do with monogamy. Those are two different definitions. Monogamy means having one relationship at a time, whereas marriage means a socially recognized agreement that establishes rights and obligations between those two people, mostly brought into life to protect children, most of all. So why not be non-monogamous before marriage? Explore, do all the things you want to do. Also after marriage, after your children become, if you decide to divorce, you don't have to do that. But some people, the divorce rates nowadays are high. But at the very least, make sure that you fulfill your obligation to your children first and make them become independent. Because that's your role as a parent. That's your responsibility. Then just fool around if you want to before you get children. That's my point.
Okay, if the child becomes independent, then are you for going back to more of a...
No, that depends. It all depends on the person. But it's true that nowadays, you can look up any statistics, divorce rates are very, very high. My point is, try to find a partner that you at the very, very least, at least can make sure, or at least have a very high guarantee to be sure that you will make your children. At least follow the obligation to your children.
And Mark supports that. And we're going to come back to the family section. There's more in this. But the first one, we've got subtopics. I'll quickly show you them. Sexual monogamy in the individuals, sexual monogamy in the family. We can go back to what we were just at. There's a little break. Sexual monogamy in society, sexual monogamy alternatives. So if you've got a question in the audience, you can place it. And then we'll have audience questions after that. Okay. Sexual monogamy and the individuals. So I understand your positions. And everyone else, I want to bring us right back to, maybe it's evolution or whatever, to biology and what your perspectives are of how are our brains wired. Are we wired for monogamy or for non-monogamy? Forget about the emotion for a second. Do you think it's the best relationships or not? Just what are we wired for? What do you think is natural for most people? To give us a foundation of understanding of what our people... So, what we'll do is, I will say, we'll do it men and women. And each individual, you'll tell me whether you think men or women are naturally monogamous or non-monogamous. And then I'll ask you guys. So we'll start, and only one word answer is allowed. If you go over one word, I'll answer for you. Just one word. So, start with Mark. Are men naturally monogamous or non-monogamous, in your opinion?
In one word.
One word. Monogamous or non-monogamous?
We shouldn't seek to...
One word! One word! Go on, one word. Just natural.
Disqualified.
You can talk. Go on, go on.
None.
Non-monogamous. Monogamous, non-monogamous.
Definitely no.
Non-monogamous.
Yes.
Monogamous.
We all know the answer.
No, it's one word. Non-monogamous.
Non-monogamous.
Non-monogamous. You guys, hands up. Men, monogamous. Hands up for monogamous. Naturally monogamous. Thinking about it. Hands up for non-monogamous. Holy bastards. Alright. Women. Monogamous, non-monogamous. Naturally.
Depends.
No, that's not one word. Choose one. Choose one. Just choose one. The most women.
No enough women.
Quickly. Michael.
No.
Non-monogamous. Think about it. Non-monogamous.
Naturally.
Non-monogamous. Non-monogamous. A full house there. You guys, women, monogamous. Hands up. Women are naturally monogamous. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, hands down. Hands up for non-monogamous. Naturally non-monogamous. The rest of you. Okay, hands down. So that's interesting. So now. So okay. Now where do we go? So
Emulate nature.
right now I go to you guys. Most people, including you two, think that it's natural to be non-monogamous. Not you. You lot. But you're saying we should be monogamous. But most people just said both men and women are naturally non-monogamous. Why do we have to go against our nature?
Well, first of all,
What's that?
I've never said we should be. I'm keeping it focused on the actual resolution here, which is for relationships. For relationships. Which one is better for relationships? That's in the motion. Now, very good points. We all know that that's what conventional reality is now. It's promiscuity until you're like 28 if you're a woman and like 36 if you're a man. All right, sure. But is that better for your relationships? Let's ask about that. Let's keep focused on the actual motion here. Is it better for your relationships with your parents? Yes. Conventional, that's Western society, that's what we've exported to China now? Sure, okay. But is that good for your relationship with your parents? Is that good for your relationship with your friends? Is that good for your relationship with your partner? Research shows promiscuity before marriage actually leads to greater divorce rates.
Okay. Also, you guys are getting involved here. I want to implant a policy. It's called the 1 point policy. Everyone, including the frontliners and you guys, you can only make 1 point. So if you say, I want to say 3 things, A, B, no. Just say 1 point and we can try and keep on topic. On the nature point, how does this feed into your argument? On the nature point.
So I'm not sure exactly what you were saying, but I don't recommend don't have sex with your parents. Okay, just now that we got that out of the way. Monogamy is with your partners, not your friends. Okay. But I don't care if it's natural or not. I don't think we should look to nature to define what is good in our relationships. We make our choices about how our actions affect others. I mean, naturally we shit in the woods. I don't recommend that you take a step outside if you need to use the bathroom. The things that we do in nature are not an excuse for saying what a human behavior, whether it's good or not good, and the whole question is kind of a smokescreen away from this.
Okay, we can move on to the next topic unless an audience member is dying to jump in, okay? Shout it out, you've got a big voice.
On promiscuity and its relationship to marriage longevity, that relationship shows up just because there are some subcultures where people get married early and then they get divorced. And then there are other subcultures where people have lots of marriages and then they get divorced and then they have a long-term marriage, but they start at a much older age. So the relationship between promiscuity and marriage just means some people have lots of sex and then get married, and some people get married, break up, and then have lots more sex and then get married again.
So that makes you for or against the motion?
Just saying that promiscuity does not have promiscuity and marriage is not really that relevant to sexual monogamy making the best relationships.
Okay. Okay, let's do family. Sexual monogamy and the family. One of Daniel's key points was children. So let's put that to this side. Because Michael, I think you and Daniel agree on a lot,
Yeah.
but you disagree on the motion. But maybe let's go to Mark. Daniel really pushed hard the whole. Basically, his point is you really should be sexually monogamous for the benefit of the child. Is that right? Basically, it's close to something right. Take that on. If you want to raise a child properly, you've got to be sexually monogamous. Have you not?
So what makes good parents, what makes a good environment for a child? That's really the root of the question. I want to increase, I want to have loving people in a child's life. People who care for the child, people who are committed to raising this child, and people who are in a loving relationship surrounding this child. If that's two people, that's cool. Monogamy works most of the time. But don't hate on people in a loving relationship who want to raise a child with more people. If they can provide that love and support and time to go to after-school activities and time to help with math homework and support for weekend adventures, if you can do all of that, you can be a parent. I don't care if it's 2, I don't care if it's 3. That's what makes a good parent, and that's what makes a good relationship.
Okay. Take that on. Why is he wrong?
So, the basic thing, we live in a society, right? We're not living in caves. So, there is a government, there is society, there are parents, there are your friends. So, the first thing that you will deal with, and maybe you should probably ask women, why are you so jealous? Right? If monogamy is okay, right? Good. Yeah, why are you being jealous? So, if you are naturally polygamous, why are you being jealous? Right? So, biggest question is, next one, what will you ask, what will you tell your children, you know, how to grow in their society, right? In their schools, I mean, there is a point maybe, but we live in a society, and there is a pressure. It always pressures the children, everyone, from like our parents teaching us. Yeah, naturally we've been, you know, killing each other, robbing, stealing, you know, this status, like the strongest man that gets to try the most women, he fucks them all, and he has the, you know, the amount of children from him because he's the strongest male, right? So this is the natural thing. But we live in a society and we should take that into account, I think. And the other point, like, one point.
I say that. I just want to clarify. So your point is, a family with with children and multiple parents. One reason it won't work, in your opinion, is because of jealousy, right?
Jealousy, yeah, basically.
So let's take an example. There's an extra woman in that family, and the 2 women would become jealous. That's your point. There's an extra mother, who, not the biological mother, there's an extra woman in that family, and you're saying it wouldn't work because they would become jealous. Yeah. So it's your position that, okay, so why do women become jealous? Do you have a thought on that?
Yes.
Why?
We are jealous because we've been taught from the beginning, like in the society, modern society, that, you know, the relationship is like possessiveness, like it's my girlfriend, it's my wife, I take care of her, I take care of him, these are my children. Why do you think man prefer to take a virgin as his wife? What? Like, I mean, he wants her number of men to be as low as possible.
What about this is my man, this is my husband, this is my boyfriend.
Okay.
Women can also say that.
Let's go to the audience. So, it's a point, let's take it on. So the point you're making, so you're making the point that men and women are both very jealous.
Yes.
We're both very jealous, and that's why relationships don't work. Who disagrees that men and women are jealous?
Oh God.
Shout out if you can.
I think that you assume that we are jealous, but you ask why directly without asking whether we are really jealous. So I think that's the
What's the truth?
So you don't believe that men and women are jealous? Well, why do we get jealous? Have you got an explanation for why? Or it's just the way it is?
Why are we jealous? It's a deep question.
Alright, let's go here.
obviously.
Jealousy.
I think-
Jealousy. Jealousy.
Me?
Jealousy.
I think people are jealous when they're in insecure relationships.
Yes.
So if you're not secure, and maybe you believe about yourself, you don't have good, good self-outlook on yourself, good self-esteem, and you're in an insecure relationship, then you tend to get jealous because everybody's a threat to that, a threat to you. So I don't think it's really a problem of men or women or a problem of relationships. It's just poor relationships.
So it could be a problem, but it's the person who should take responsibility rather than we should shape our relationship around jealousy. We should change jealousy.
You should get a better relationship.
Right. On jealousy, shout it out.
Obviously, your you have a monogamous relationship, and males and females, they're obviously going to be jealous when they're maintaining a relationship with another person. It's built in within our system that when the person you're providing green hat in China is
right, green hat. Who mounts it?
Yeah, if your female is having sex with another male, you're going to get jealous.
So you would
That's
then.
a natural instinct. That's the most. In America, if you kill a man, you can't murder people. But if you walk in and the man's having sex with your wife, then it's we kind of understand. There's a little asterisk there. You can't murder for any reason, but if you walk in and your wife's having sex with another guy and you kill him, well, we kind of understand.
This is juicy, isn't it? You claps. So, who disagrees with that point? You disagree?
Wild West.
You did a vote before.
Keep on jealousy.
Yeah, it's about jealousy. You did a vote before saying, do you think men or women are naturally monogamous? What you should do then is say, do women naturally or typically, whatever word you use, require their partner to be exclusive to them? So what you actually need to come back to is to actually look at, we have a view of ourselves about our relationships, but that possessiveness and jealousy towards our partners, whether it's to control resources or the like, how do we actually view it? And I'd actually like to see a vote here. Like even the women said that they don't think that women are naturally monogamous. So ask them, do they think the women are naturally require their partner?
Ask them.
You ask them.
I need to word this right. So the question is, so we have to ask men and women separately, shall we?
Correct.
First, women, ladies first. Put your hand up if you require your partner to be sexually exclusive to you. That's on your point? Hands up if you require your partner to be sexually exclusive to you. He or she cannot bang anybody else. That's less than half. Hey, ladies. All right, hands down. Men, hands up. Honestly, if you require your female or male partner to be sexually exclusive to you, hands up. Men, this is one for men.
Yeah, exclusive, yeah.
You expect them to be sexually exclusive to you, they don't have sex with any other people. I'd say most people voted for sexual exclusivity, men and women. Okay, that's interesting. Good point. Thank you for that. Where are we? So the family. So the jealousy. You want to go on jealousy?
Yeah.
Jealousy.
I can say something about that.
Basically, my question to everyone is: do we have to work our relationships to accept jealousy as a normal thing, and be monogamous because of jealousy, or do we have to change jealousy? And then we can be more promiscuous. That's where I want to get this to.
Guys, let's admit that. Jealousy, okay, Liam, I agree with you. Jealousy is quite normal in a relationship, but jealousy is the worst emotion in a true love or real relationships. If you ask me what's the cause of the jealousy, I would say it's suspicion. And Asian Chinese people we have a fantastic idiom for that. Suspicions create fantastic fears. 疑心一生暗鬼。谢谢。
Okay, we'll have one more voice from the audience and we'll move on to another topic. Try and shout it out first.
I think that it is interesting that we've had everyone except for only one woman has spoken so far on the topic do we think women are jealous more than men? So,
And why are there two women up there as well?
okay, so that's still not enough.
So what's your position? You've got your chance. What's your position?
I would just like to say that women are more socially conditioned to probably be jealous because your self-worth is placed on your virginity, because virginity is viewed as a commodity and is viewed as your morality. So if you're an immoral woman, you're a bad woman, a promiscuous, a woman who's has promiscuity issues, then you are worth less in society, and you have literally been given less of a societal worth by, like, you're not able to get married, you're viewed as loose, you're not able to progress further in social settings. So what I'm saying is women have had to guard themselves more and their sexual virtuity.
Okay. So, let's have somebody take that point on directly. So your position is it's not actually biological. You think society has put this on women, and they have, and it's because of that they operate in this way.
And things are not just binary. I identify as non-binary, so we're only talking about men and women. There are many people that do not view themselves just as men and women. Just like the Kinsey scale says of sexuality, you could be one being that you completely see yourself as a male, 5, you completely see yourself as a woman, and then there are things in between. You could be a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5. I see myself as a 3. So you cannot just say that it is a biological issue, because that is ignoring and erasing a large amount of people that do not see themselves as a binary.
Okay. Somebody take on that first point about that society has
If society has expectations of women and values women for their virginity, society has expectations of men and values men for their masculinity. Society looks at men, qua men, as nothing, as expendable, as basically valueless. Women and children first, eh? If you want to be valued as a man, there are many ways to do it, but all of them are about accomplishing something. Whether that something is being a good father and a good provider, or whether that something is being a scumbag that women somehow find themselves attracted to because, oh my god, he's the bad boy, or whether it is some kind of artistic accomplishment. Being valued by society for reasons that people would not defend as a basis for a society is not unique to women. It is a part of society because resources are scarce, and what people want and what people can actually get are not the same and never will be.
Okay. Final point from you, and then we'll move on. We'll do a quick break.
Well, I'd like to add on the fine lady over there who added that last point, and on you as well. So, I've actually read a couple of studies about what you were both saying. Where does this come from, that how a woman is valued for being a virgin, or either being very, doesn't easily go and fool around with men? This dates back to the times that men were historically seen as the caregivers. They were bringing in the money, and the woman was historically seen as the one to take care for the child. So then the men, let's say the men, they gave up their freedom, not just their freedom, but also the power to earn income towards the woman. So it would be, men would feel very defeated and cheated if a woman would fool around besides their back. So historically, society has given in this incentive for women to be very reserved at how they have sex with other people, and for men to commit themselves in a marriage. That's why marriage was invented in the first place, to stick around with a woman to make sure that she was taken care of while she had the child. Think about why is historically society has been the most productive if this state of calmness was being maintained. That's why the whole concept of marriage was initially instigated by churches and religions around the world, to keep that stability and to bring in that notion that virgins are more valuable and that men should be caretakers. And then again, that's why even in the nowadays society, I think that could still keep things calm. It could definitely help with, again, children. And that's also why I say explore before you get children, both men and women.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Okay. Okay, take your seats, take your seats, take your seats. Plenty of time to talk afterwards. Let's get straight back into it with our next subtopic, which you were pretty much talking about in the last subtopic. Everything's connected, this happens. Sexual monogamy and society. And people are coming in, but we can keep it going. Sexual monogamy and society. So we spoke a lot about that already. Let's kick off again. And the pictures here. It looks like an open relationship to me. And there's a church, which Michael mentioned. So in the West, anyway, a lot of the traditional values come from the church. And that has a certain attitude towards monogamy. And so I want to find out what everyone thinks. I want to fight over what society should do, what society should promote in terms of monogamy and promiscuity, and how society has dictated the debate, dictated how people feel about sexual monogamy. So, if somebody, I see a hand up, so maybe you want to kick us off? Yeah? You want to kick on monogamy and society? Kick us off, sir.
I think society is an institution that has been evolving over the past several thousand years at a constant rate, or at a
Hold it close. Hold it close.
Alright. I think China used to have polygamy several thousand years ago, but then it kind of evolved to monogamy. And maybe in the future decades, it's still going to evolve. Like maybe monogamy is ordained by the society now, but in the future, maybe we will have more individual rights and choices. So. And our society is also evolving with technology, so maybe better technology will grant us better conditions for polygamy.
Okay, a quick point I should have mentioned earlier. We don't permit any criticism of our host nation. We respect our host nation, so we don't go anywhere near our hosts. Best not to talk about it, really. So no criticism. We can be as controversial as we like with Western ideas, but not local ones. Okay, but the point was that society is evolving. Generally, global society is evolving, and it may evolve, in social terms, into a more promiscuous society. What do we make of this?
Hi, so what worries me about a totally promiscuous society is that it could lead to polygyny, which basically means that everybody's having sex with lots and lots of different women. And what worries me about that is that men will leave their partners more freely for different partners, and it will lead to a rise in single motherhood, which I think will further things like, you know, the gender earnings gap and things like that. And I think it could actually be quite detrimental for women in the long run if we did lead down this kind of polygynous path.
So just to clarify your point, so if men and women both had more open relationships, you foresee that being more broken families and therefore more single mothers.
I think
Is that the logic?
Well, no. I think if we had a society full of polygamy, everything like that, I think men would be more free to leave the women that they were with and then move on to maybe younger partners or something to go and spread their seed more. And then it would lead to a rise in single motherhood, which is not good for the children or for society because there is such an
So your point is that...
And they can't rely on a single person, so they have to rely on the collective.
So your point is that society holds men accountable to their children right now by pushing monogamy. Yes. You take that out, and suddenly men will just fly around, go to the hottest girl every time, and it'll be more chaotic.
I think it'll be probably quite.
Okay. Yeah. Quite from Nels. Who wants to disagree with that? Or okay.
I want to disagree with that because I feel like there's always a free market. And once Well, the men have to go somewhere, and if there are a lot of single mothers coming out, they might be going to single mothers, and they end up not having to value the fact that you have to find a woman who is single with no children, and it just becomes normal. That might happen.
Just to clarify your point, so I'm going to do a little diagram. Here's Bob and Jill. They have a child, and Bob goes to Betty, and then Jack comes in and looks after Jill. It's like more like a kind of a tribe raises the kid more than just two parents. That kind of thing.
Where does the wealth go?
Who disagrees with that?
Where's the money go?
Bounce it off.
I disagree with that because, for example, there's a 50-year-old man leaving his 50-year-old wife. It's much easier for him to find a new partner, even a much younger partner, than for this 50-year-old woman.
But the 50-year-old woman's children
She will be alone with the
25.
child. But she will be alone with the child. It will be almost impossible for her to find someone new, believe me.
The child should be
What about Bridget McCall?
But her point was the child is likely to be older then anyway. If she's 50.
The divorce lawyers love you guys.
Nels, get involved. You want to get involved? Your little wealth point.
Where does the wealth go? Divorce lawyers love you guys. I mean, honestly, like, it's already bad enough without more complication. I mean, it's already bad enough the way it is right now with just sort of divorce between monogamous couples. I mean, are you serious? I mean, let's live in a fantasy world for a moment here, why don't we? Can we live in complete fantasy? I mean, let's not even talk about which country we're in. Except maybe Sweden, maybe these weird, exceptions. Exceptions. And your future fantasy is an exception, too. Sorry.
Can I say something about it?
Okay, who wants to back up the point of a slightly more free, open society? Who wants to back that up? You want to back it up? With the more promiscuous society?
I would like to say that this kind of free society would only work if the structure of society would change totally. Like in China, I think in Yunnan province is that matriarchal society when the family is not mother, father, child, the uncles and grandparents and they take care of the child and the fortune stays on the mother side and it's totally a different structure of the family. So I think only in this case the promiscuity can be on this large scale.
I'd like to say something. So this topic is sexual monogamy in society. Now again, we see a church here in the picture. Why was sexual monogamy invented? Back in the day, there wasn't something like a legal system and a really strong government and social control and all the high technology that we have nowadays. Back in the day, if your wife cheated on you, she got her ass bashed in. If you accidentally had sex with the wife of somebody in another tribe, you could get stabbed to death.
Or castrated.
Or castrated, or stoned. That still happens in some parts of the world. But in a modern day society, there's something such as law. So, nowadays, even though if you would screw around or you fool around, you're gonna possibly, the chance and likelihood for getting killed is less large than it was back in the day. It's not impossible, but certainly there's a very big penalty on it, and there's also a high rate that you actually get caught. So again, it's perfectly possible in a society nowadays to be not sexually monogamous before you get married, and also in China, before you actually get married, so that you get married for more. Again, we've all agreed on the fact just now, almost all of everybody, that women nor men are naturally monogamous. So let yourself go before you get children. Once more, it's possible in a modern day society, opposite to what the church advocated before.
Okay, I see your point. So the point is, a society can make laws, which it already is doing, to make being sexually open and free easier, and there's less punishment, and so therefore you think it can work. Let's go on to the next subtopic, which we naturally got onto. Sexual monogamy alternatives. A few little pictures to trigger your minds. There's a polygamous, I think a Muslim man with multiple wives. There's a woman with multiple men, and there's open relationships together. There are a few alternatives. Does somebody first, maybe a frontliner, do you want to give us, I really want to visualise your world where the alternative is working. That's what I want to visualize.
Yeah, so alternatives to monogamy. I'm just using the title non-monogamy. There's polyamory, polygamy, there's all these things, but I'm just using the title non-monogamy. I don't actually support a lot of what we're talking about where just everybody's having sex with everybody. That's not what I'm arguing for. I'm arguing for people choosing their relationships and their partners and being able to do what makes them happy in their relationship. I don't support any a relationship where someone is coerced, they're forced into marriage. I don't support any relationship where a person is made to feel like they have to get married when they don't want to. I don't support any relationship with coercion. My model for non-monogamy is people who love each other and who understand what their partner wants and needs, and working together to match and to get along and make everybody in the relationship happy.
I want to push you. Okay, you've got to clap. So, have you got like a favoured alternative? Or is your criteria just as long as there's love and it's a free choice, it works for you? Or would you say that an open relationship is better than polygamy, for example? Are you a bit more specific?
The title that I'll use, we get into just a set of names that probably don't have any meaning to any of you. I support polyamory. It's a very general term. The model of it that I would support best is a committed relationship with some degree of openness. There's sort of like maybe a primary partner, like my primary partner, with then some regulations. Okay, each of us would have one partner and so on. But the primary partner is one model that I support as polygamy, as non-monogamy.
Thank you. I follow that. So a primary partner with some other people on the side, but that looks more like the beach picture. Okay. Who wants to move us forward on that philosophy? A new voice at the back? You disagree with his idea because?
Because I think the current social context is more important, that more women tend to be monogamy in a relationship, but many men, they are non-monogamy in the same relationship. And the woman is inferior to the men in many circumstances that we don't wish to see, but it exists. So I think in a society that doesn't have a strong social welfare, that it doesn't have a strong healthcare service, and it doesn't have a good law to protect the weak, the poor of the society. So the thing inferior of the society will definitely suffer from it, and I think some people are too optimistic with it about monogamy, that they ignore the risk of sexual transmitted disease and the human trafficking and the pregnancy or the pregnant agent, something like that. So.
Perfect. Thank you for reality. Thank you.
You've had a hand up for a while. So on the alternatives.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing is, I happen to know a very interesting case. My sister's best friend, she is in a non-monogamous marriage. Of course, I officially don't know that, but the thing is, they've been married for more than 10 years, and they were at the point where it really didn't work anymore, especially sexually, because they got so used to each other that it was just boring for them, and the marriage was almost broken. But then they started seeing other people, with the other person knowing it. And this really saved the marriage, because the love, the mental love, is actually so strong. It's so much stronger than the physical part. This is also what Mark said in his beginning statement. They say, the other is my soulmate. Even if I am physically with someone, doesn't mean I love him or her less, because they can separate it, the sexual and the mental part. And this really saved the marriage.
I like that point. I see the logic. Can somebody disagree with that? So let me just summarise. Your point is the promiscuity can work when the emotional, psychological relationship is very, very strong, and it's just a bodily...
And both agree, that's very important.
And both consent, both agree, but it's just a physical thing on the side, and that can be a working relationship. Do you disagree, sir?
Yes.
Because you've got a big voice.
Basically, promiscuity has been a disaster in America in the last 65 years.
Yes, thank you.
When you look, I hate to call out names, but when you look at the Black American population in particular, the rate is 77%. 77%.
No.
What rate? Okay.
That's 4 out of 5. That's 4, but it's a statistic. It's actually
He's making a point, fair enough.
But 4 out of 5 have no father. That's a disaster. And when you look at biological culture, right? You have 6,000 cultures. How many cultures have a promiscuous system set up in place? Almost none of them. And when they did, it was men have multiple women, the alpha males. And so when you look at the results of what happened in the United States, it's been a disaster for all populations, but especially the populations that it's affected the most. I don't think there's a bigger problem in America. In many ways.
I can answer this.
Okay, who wants to disagree?
It's a key point.
I want to take
Yes, take on that point directly. It was a controversial point which we love at big debates. Take it on directly, Mark.
So if you're going to date someone and then leave them with a child, don't. There we go. End of story. I'm not supporting that. So when you hear me saying I'm for non-monogamy, I don't support that. And people who are actually practicing non-monogamy are not doing this, woohoo, well, I'm gonna do everything.
But that's what promiscuity is.
That's what you want. That's what you're saying this is. I'm not saying that is the definition of promiscuity.
Yes.
I do not support promiscuity.
Well, what's the debate?
I support having organized, committed, faithful, honest relationships.
That's not the debate.
Yes, that is. Show me, point to the word promiscuity. Where's the word promiscuity? It's not there. What you're describing is not okay with me. I'm not supporting that. And if you're voting for me, I hope it's not because you think I'm all for just wagging it all over the place. Don't do that unless you have it consensual with your partner.
Okay, keep your hands up. In 5 minutes' time, we'll have closing statements. One frontliner from each side will talk uninterrupted for 2 minutes, the closing statement, and one volunteer from the audience, for and against, will come up. So if that person is you, have a little think now, and in 5 minutes I will choose somebody who volunteers. On this point, I've forgotten it a little bit. Remind us, move us forward.
I'll keep it short. I think, Mark, your argument is based on your hope. You're hoping people are going to be open-minded and not cheat on their partner and have equal love and care for their partners. But the reality is, if a man knows that this child is not his biological child, they feel reluctant to take care of them. That's a reality. We are hardwired in that because from the evolutionary biology point of view, right?
You're right. That person should be monogamous. I'm not that person.
And also,
I have
when you're
students.
talking about practicing, I mean, I just find it really hard to practice such a thing, to have multiple partners.
Very fair. That's very fair and very honest.
A lot of people
Monogamy is fine.
cannot even manage the time to take care of one partner.
You're absolutely right.
How do you expect them to take care of multiple
I
partners?
don't. I expect them to be monogamous.
Okay.
I just expect other people to let me have my healthy, comfortable relationships.
Okay. Okay, a nice exchange. So you think it's not realistic for you, but you think it is. You
It's
should let
realistic for some people.
Some people.
And if it works for them, it's good. And,
Okay.
and most people should be monogamous because it works for most people.
Final point, then we'll go on to audience ideas.
Hi, sorry, I just have a comment for that group over there in the corner. Yelling out platitudes like sexist and racist does not move the debate forward. Thank you so much for wasting my time.
Okay, close us off for this topic.
We
across several things. Like, I prefer monogamous relationships, but it's not, I understand how the world works. Someone said, like, all the cultures in the world, they're always monogamous. It's actually a blatant lie. Cultures traditionally, most of them weren't monogamous. Ancient Egypt, all the Celts, group after group after group. Even in this country, there's been lots of history and there's lots of different groups. So like monogamy is not necessarily a natural state or something that we need. It is what it is. It exists in most cultures today. And because it's the norm, a lot of people feel it's the right thing. And I think all that Mark's group is saying, all the people over here on the left are saying, well, why should that be enforced upon us? Because we don't accept it as the right thing. And actually, if you look through human history, it's the odd thing. Monogamy is not the norm, all right? So it is today, but it not always has been. I like monogamy, and it is codified in law. It was codified by the church. That came up. We had a picture of the church. And why was it done? It wasn't really to make stable societies. It was to control people. And if you can control what people do in the privacy of their own bedrooms, you control them. It's a control issue. That's why there's laws about it. So I'm not sure which side of the debate I'm on, but I agree with their point they've been making. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to audience ideas. So the subtopic is your topic. What are you bursting to say in the final 3 minutes? A new voice? Yep.
Yes.
Shout it out.
I think historically, or I believe men are workers and women are thinkers. So like just the debate with 5 men on the front is a bit biased. Like I would love to have a woman in the front as well. Yeah. But I believe.
Oh, you're talking about the flyer, right?
About the flyer?
There was a woman. Where did she go?
Yeah. No.
Oh, you mean the front liners? There's 4 men. Oh, I see.
It's me.
There was supposed to be a woman.
Yeah, the woman, one girl dropped out last minute, but keep going.
The second thing I wanted to say was that I think having monogamy is like forcing dictatorship. Like if you're for democracy, then it has to be is monogamy. If you out of will, if you're forced into a monogamous relationship, which is like not healthy and anything, then it doesn't serve any purposes. Like the control issues, it backfires. So I'm against monogamous relationships there, just because the control issues don't work.
Freedom.
Okay, we can move on to you, sir. We'll just quickly say that big debates, we encourage everybody to get involved at the front line, but it's always quite tough to get people because it's a really challenging and scary thing to do. You, sir, what is your point?
Yeah, so what I want to ask is, so the debate says sexual monogamy makes the best relationships.
Thank you.
But we're not talking about consent here. It says sexual monogamy, but it's not talking about consent. So I'm asking everyone who says that sexual monogamy does not make the best relationships, I want to ask you, have you guys been cheated on? Because it sucks. It sucks ass. And like, I believe in monogamy. And because, you know, I've experienced it myself to be cheated on. And I feel like consent is the most important part of this debate, and we're not talking about that. So I just wanted to...
Mark, that was the entirety of Mark's first slide.
Yeah.
Like, you should have an honest, open, and communicative relationship.
Sure, but that was his opinion.
So, hold on, I'm not sure of your point. So, it was painful to be cheated on for you.
Yeah.
And where does that put you on this motion? That make you for or against?
No, I am again. I'm forwards. I am with monogamy.
Right, so you support
what I want to say is that we're talking about does it make the best relationships or not. If you personally, yeah, you want to put everything on the table and be like, okay, yes, I want to have an open relationship. But does that do the best for every relationship out there? I don't think so.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what I mean.
So you want it, but it's not necessarily the right for everyone.
I agree.
Which you guys have been quite a lot.
It's not for everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Hi, sorry, show of hands. Hands up if you had to live through a parent's divorce. Okay, now hands up again if you'd want to go through that twice. No one, exactly. Some people have their hand up at the back there. But no, my point is, if you're in a 3 or 4 way relationship, imagine if it breaks up. You're going to have to go through it more than once. It's horrible. It's horrible. Where does the money go? Where do the resources go? How are they split? It makes everything really messy.
It's already messy enough.
Let's do resources for 1 minute. Resources in relationships. How do resources affect all relationships? How should we share resources in relationships? How does that come into the debate?
just wanted to say something about the broken families and the high level amongst minority groups in the United States, because my mother is an immigrant and she was a single mother. And there are a lot of reasons for the broken families, and it's not always about promiscuity. For example, government policies that lead the male to abandon the family because the female cannot get welfare if he's in the household. Or my own father was in prison while I was growing up. I lost my husband after living in an open marriage with him for 4 years, not because of the open marriage, because he euthanized due to inadequate medical treatment. I think poverty breaks families apart more than promiscuity does. We were extremely happy together. I had no jealousy, we had no problems, we loved each other so much, but poverty breaks families apart. And not consensual sex. If we agreed on that and we were happy together and we had a great life, we've got to consider other sociological reasons that are tearing apart couples and families besides just sex, sex, sex.
Can I just clarify what your position is? So you're saying the reason for breaking up families are different reasons, that you just like poverty, and so therefore you're against this motion.
I say don't blame always the fact that the people were in an open marriage or a relationship. That's not always the reason.
Okay, there are much bigger reasons out there. Okay, we'll have one more point from you, sir, and then we'll go audience and frontliner.
On the point of resources, on the point of resources in a relationship, on the point of men and women's power, on the point of relationships among the black subculture in America, if we are very, very, very rich, then we can afford to have different kinds of relationship and different kinds of social structures than we can afford if we are very, very poor. Up until very, very recently, the idea of a gay identity and a gay culture was not even something that people thought about. Up until very recently, the idea of polyamory was not something that people thought about. But now, society is different, and we are much, much richer. We can afford to experiment with new ways of doing things. People can decide to live their life in the way that they want because they have more security. Let them do what they want to do, and you know what? If they want to walk around with swinging it all over the place, and they find a woman who's okay with them swinging it all over the place, if people have children, in a non-committed relationship and everybody's okay with that, that is okay, as long as nobody's suffering.
Okay. Let's do our closing statements. So, we'll do the volunteers from the audience first, and then the frontliners. So you guys decide who it's going to be. Hands up if you would like, I'll just do a random pick. Hands up if you would like to come up and do an uninterrupted 2-minute argument for the motion, sexual monogamy makes the best relationships. Hands up who would like to come up and argue for the motion. Okay, sir, you're in. Hands up if you would like to come and argue against the motion. Sexual monogamy makes the best relationships. Hands up. Just need a hand up from one person, one brave person from the audience to argue against the motion. Okay, sir, you're booked in. So, frontliners, who's it going to be for you guys? Okay, who's it going to be for you guys? Okay. Audience members first. What's your name, sir? Sean. Come around here, Sean, please. As Sean's walking, give him a round of applause. He does for 2 minutes. For the motion, sexual monogamy makes the best relationships. Uninterrupted. Thank you, Sean.
I totally agree. Honestly, I hate to say it, it's kind of a stupid question because it's so self-evident.
Yes.
Right? If you're promiscuous with a person, you don't even know that. Right? So then how can you have a relationship? And in regards to a lot of these other gender identities, I believe that it's consistently, other systems have been tried. Hippies tried it, they did the communist. I actually grew up in Saudi Arabia, where there is 4 women and 1 man. It's one of the only few societies in that. And the only way it works is if one rich guy has multiple women. That's the only way it works. It's impossible. It has never existed where there's one woman and many men. There's lots of biological reasons for this. And so what I'm saying is that having a male and a female combining resources together for the genetic offspring of that particular individual has beat any system that exists for children. It's not even close. The statistics on this, they're irrefutable. Like, you can just look at one after another, after another, after another, after another, after another. It's so night and day obvious. Single motherhood does not work as good as monogamy does. And when you talk about the proposition, I think the proposition is absurd. How are you going to have a better relationship with someone you don't even know? I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. It doesn't even make sense.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. And what's your name, sir? Let me pronounce this correctly. Vivek? Okay. Vivek is arguing against the motion sexual monogamy makes the best relationships. 2 minutes uninterrupted as he walks around this way. Let's give Vivek a round of applause, please. 2 uninterrupted minutes arguing against the motion sexual monogamy makes the best relationships.
Thanks, Ian, for this opportunity. Thanks, everybody. Just on the issue of the reason for that's being banned again and again and again for sexual monogamy makes the best relationships is one of the things is children. I just want to introduce myself. I'm married for like 15 years and I've got 4 children, and the genetics of the children and everything, my youngest child has a genetic mutation or a genetic issue. So like I'm trying my best to get further research on that genetic condition. So even if, and I think beyond a certain point, you can accumulate a lot of wealth, you can accumulate a lot of experience, you can accumulate a lot of things. But there is a stage, there is a level of awareness that comes where you surpass the amount of wealth that you need, the amount of material things you need to support life, anything. And if the reason for being in a sexual monogamy, to have a sexual monogamous relationship for the children is a faulted thought, I think. I think if people are forced to have a monogamous, or expectation is to have a forced monogamous relationship just because society expects it, and just because you feel that that's going to be the best for the children, as soon as it becomes a compulsion, it stops being a freedom.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And finally, arguing for the motion, we have Daniel. 2 minutes uninterrupted for the motion sexual monogamy makes the best relationships. Daniel.
So, the first question is, would you do that? Like, would you live monogamous? Would you marry a guy or a girl, right? Create a family if no one else would do it? The first question. And, for example, let's imagine, right? So, you are a couple, and there is one other woman, or one other man, or maybe both, like 2 couples, together. Are you okay with that? Are you personally okay with that? Can you accept it? No jealousy, like open relationships. Okay, I accept you, I accept him, everything goes okay. Like, if it's okay, yeah, it's possible. I know several examples that are living like this. So there's a guy who lives with a porn star. He had like more than 3,000 or 4,000 girls. He is really experienced in sex and can provide really great like squirting orgasm and stuff. But do you really need that? If not, if it's not important for you, then you should choose monogamous. If it's important for you, then you should, you know, consider things, because good sex is usually not interrupted, not connected with monogamy, because we know stuff. All right. What else? Okay. Anyway, so yeah, children.
Thank you, Daniel. Okay, that concludes our big debate. It does not conclude our big debate. Just have a little choke. We have one more frontline debater. I do apologise, Michael. Michael is coming up. He's arguing against the motion, sexual monogamy makes the best relationships. Michael!
So again, as the man in the blue shirt pointed out, that statement up there, sexual monogamy makes the best relationship, is pretty hard to argue with because it's supposed to be self-evident. But more early on, Liam also asked everybody, okay, are men and women naturally monogamous? Yes or no? I didn't see a lot of hands for yes. So we discussed two options. My option was, it's perfectly fine to be non-monogamous before you get children. Mark's option was, it is okay to be in a non-monogamous relationship because monogamy is not for everybody. And definitely non-monogamy is not for me when I have children, but I have to respect Mark's decision for that because he's a different individual from me. The same that there are many different individualities anywhere in the world. So what it's really about, what I think the question should really be, is how do we suppress that natural urge to be non-monogamous in order to properly raise our children? The way I discussed it was, do it before you get married or before you get children. His way was, this fits my personality, this fits my individuality, and this makes me capable of raising a child the proper way before it gets independent. I think together these two options will cover most of the individualities in the world. And that's my end statement.
Thank you, Michael. And that does end our big debate on the motion, sexual monogamy makes the best relationships. We're going to do a second and final vote. But let's quickly give, it's a tough topic, there is some controversy in the room, we love it, but it takes a lot of balls. It takes a lot of balls and female stuff to get up here and debate. So let's give our frontliners a round of applause. And now you can get out your mobile phones and we can do the final vote, Ian. And you vote for, against or undecided. The motion is sexual monogamy makes the best relationships. One side will win, one side will lose. It's a debate, one side will win, one side will lose. So you can get in the group and there's and Ian will keep sending the, resending and resending the second vote. And you scan the blue little barcode in the group, choose for, against, undecided. Cross off the pop-up box and your voice has been counted. You have had your say. You have expressed your power. Hands up if we were successful. We have a question? This should be the second vote. It's the most recent link. So go back to the group, and it's the most recent link in the same group. The most recent link. They look the same, the first and second, but it's just the most recent one is the second. And it looks exactly the same as the first. Okay, hands up if you have voted successfully. You've got a vote there, a vote there, a vote there, votes. Votes there. Okay, we will announce the results very shortly. You've still got a few more minutes to vote, whilst I do some very quick announcements. Okay, shh. You all want to talk about a topic, this is great, but just listen to my voice for a few more minutes. We have 2 WeChat groups if you want to get involved. We have 2 WeChat groups, kids. And one is the Creators of Big Debates group, and one is the main group. So contact me to join those groups. In the creators group, we devise the motions and come up with the topics. So if you want to have a hand in that, get involved. That's my little brother. He's doing big debates in Leicester, in England. And another friend of ours, Curtin, is doing it in Shenzhen, which is wonderful. If you want to do it in your home city, contact me. We can take over the world together. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. Oh, we have a special Chinese debate coming up. Next Wednesday, a one-off.
That's for you, it's a different question.
And it says in Chinese, 结婚不再必要. Which means in English, marriage is no longer necessary. And it'll be all in Chinese, so Chinese people, 如果你是中国人，把你手举起来。中国人在哪里？你不是，但是你会中文。OK， 欢迎你们。如果你会中文，你也可以过来。That's the Chinese debate about marriage next week. We hope to see all the Chinese people there. It's a one-off with language mix, which Tommy, stand up. This is Tommy. We're doing it together. We're tag teaming it. Thanks, Tommy. And the next big debate next month, English, will be about. Let's have a little look. Ooh. Cryptocurrency is a bad investment.
Horrible investment.
Bit of Bitcoin, bit of crypto, it's all the hype. Is it a good investment? Is it a bad investment? For or against Undecided? That is Wednesday, March the 28th, here in the Camel.
So fun. Long-term investment by gold.
And now the results are ready to be announced. We can talk about crypto next week. The results are ready to be announced. First we'll look at the first vote results. Then we'll look at the final vote results. How do you win? You win by changing the most minds from the first vote to the final vote. Not necessarily if you've got the most votes, just if you change the most minds from first to second. Which side debated and had most impact on the day? Let's take a look at the first votes. Oh. It's coming in a second, so we'll first see the first votes and then we'll see the second vote. While we wait, if you're interested in frontlining for or against cryptocurrency, let me know. Let me know. Alright, let's see it, boys.
No, I'm for this motion. So it's a bad investment. Liam always goes negative. Do you support this? It's a hard answer. I support that it's trash. I think pretty much investments are a bad idea. Spend your money now. Don't fucking save it. Do not save your money. Spend it. Tomorrow it's
okay, that's it. Okay, the results are in. So let's have a look. And the winning side is... First vote for the motion, 34%. Against the motion, 28%. Undecided, a big 36%. So, the side that changes the most minds will win. The side that changes the most minds will win. Let's have a look. 4.9% plus 5%, against 27% plus 19%, undecided minus 22. Against the motion, win this big debate. Against the motion. Thank you everyone for coming. See you next time. Bye-bye.